see in the world is what is the great American dream? What does everybody want? Everybody wants happiness. And if they see that you have what they want, they're going to ask, how did you get that? Then I was asked, would you like to speak? And the now came. And so now hopefully I'll be ready, and hopefully God will speak through me. Amen. So what is it that has been on my heart? Well, for the past year, like I said, I've been really paying attention and noticing the world fade slowly into a wrong place. More specifically, what I believe God has asked me to speak about is the loss of purity and innocence in everybody in the world. And when I say purity, I don't really mean, what you might think of, purity of the body, the things that we've done, how pure is our body. I mean, part of it is, but it means more than that. And I actually looked up purity defined, and there was a couple things that I found. First one was, without extraneous and unnecessary elements, and 2, wholesome and untainted by immorality. So really, anything in our lives can be tainted by immorality. And so, not only of the body, but our mind, our speech, our actions, and heart can all be tainted. The purity that we were initially born with, in today's world, if we don't cherish and protect it, it will be tainted by the immorality of society. And I've watched this happen. Not only to the worldly people, the people who might not have religion or go to church, but the people in the church, me, myself, the friends around me, and it's really saddened me. So I pray to God, what can I do? I'm not at a point in my life where I can, have this great big event, but I want to do something small, work small, so that God can use me. And so he challenged me, and I heard his voice again. If you want to be pure, you must follow he who is pure. Sinless, shameless, without blemish. So who is that? Jesus Christ. So if we want to be pure, we should be like Jesus Christ, right? And so when thinking about this, I went to look up a couple verses about being like Jesus, and I found quite a few. The first one I found was 1 John 2, verse 6. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus. And then another, 1 Corinthians 11:1. Be imitators of me as I am Christ. Again, 1 Peter 2, verse 21. For this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you might follow his steps. This wasn't, and these 3 weren't the only I found. There was one after another, and after another. So God tells us in his word over and over again that we should be like Christ. So to restore purity, we must be like Jesus. Well, that can't be too hard, right? Well, you think. But however, let's go back to 1 John 2, verse 6. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus. Must live as Jesus did. And a lot of other translation, it'll say to live the same way. Jesus had purity in all he did, in his mind, his body, his heart, his speech, anything, he controlled to listen to, anything he would view. To be like Jesus, as Jesus, or the same, we must maintain purity in all of these areas. Not similar or life sort of like God. It doesn't say that. It says to be as Jesus. And Satan has gotten smart. Years ago, I believe personally, it might have been a little different. Things I feel could have been a little more clear. Lying, cheating, stealing, murder, adultery. We know that these are all things that people struggled with back then. But that was a little more black and white. With all the technology and everything that we have today, things can become unclear. We know how to avoid those big things, lying, cheating, stealing, murder, adultery, all of those. We know how to avoid those. They're big. And if we don't, and if we have trouble with those, we know how to repent. But what about the small things? Knowing these big things makes us pretty good Christians. But God wants more than that. He calls us to be more than pretty good. Satan has learned how to slip his impure ways with things to be seen, well, it's okay, or it's fun, or decent. Even us pretty good Christians are missing it. We're missing it. It's in our music, our TV, movies, Facebook posts, pictures, conversations, clothes, every single thing in our lives. Satan has learned to slip in just a little bit, just so we would slowly fade into his lifestyle. We have become numb to the things that were supposed to be good, that God intended for us to be good. We've become numb to it, so where Satan has slipped his ways into it, and we think, oh, well, this was okay, and it's mostly good. That is something that has breaks my heart the most, to hear, well, it's just a song, or it's just a movie, or, most of that song or most of that artist's songs are good, so it's probably okay. But Christ didn't die on the cross for most of our lives. So why is this important to us humans? Now I'm going to give you an example. And if you ever talk to Kyle, he'll tell you never argue with Christine because she'll compare anything to anything. In our relationship, a lot of times I'm like, this is like that apple. Or this is like that piece of pie that we saw. I will compare anything. But hopefully here, with what I say, it's a comparison that God has given me so you can understand better. So a while ago, when I was young, I invited Jesus into my life, into my heart. So here comes the metaphor. Imagine my heart is like this house. And so the house has a bunch of doors and windows in it. And so that is like our heart. Now I'm going to skip over to things that I would do in my life, and these are actual examples. So let's go with music, putting the radio on. I would listen to a song, and I wouldn't really know the words yet, and I'm just singing along. It's a really catchy tune. And then I would realize, oh yeah, this is the song about that guy who wanted to do all these things to that woman because she was so beautiful. But it's just a song, and it's really catchy. So I would fade into that. And then, I would go and go on Facebook and see this video somebody shared, and it's kind of inappropriate, but it's really funny. And it's just a video. So I would share it with somebody else, and then I'm bringing somebody else into that. So these are all things that I'm letting into my life. So that's kind of like our front door that we let people into. But Jesus wouldn't be seen within these things. So by letting those sinful things in, we are then closing that door. And he can no longer get into that front door, into our lives, into the things that come into us. So then we go to something else, things that we put out. We'll say that's the back door of our heart, of our house. So then I would, talk to my friends, and, we're talking about the friends that she used to have in high school, and how, she wasn't really friends with them, and I would start gossiping, telling about their lives, what they're doing wrong. And that's not very Christ-like, is it? And then I would be at work, and somebody would come in who's not that familiar. We don't see them around. They're not, they don't look normal like everybody else. So I kind of, mock them and joke around with my coworkers. So these are all things that I'm putting out. But Christ wouldn't be seen doing these things. So basically, I just closed the back door to my heart. And now he can't get into there. But there's still one left. And then you go through these other actions, of your heart throughout the door. So you close some windows through the choices that you make throughout the day. They're not huge, just little. But then what's left for Jesus? What's left for him to come in? Well, I thought of, God brought this to me, and it's kind of odd, but you have this small window left. The one that's rarely open, the one that you don't often go, that bathroom window. You never see it. You're sometimes in there. It's probably the place you're least in your house. Well, let's just say that's our Sunday self. Part of your heart, part of your home. Of course, we're being pretty pure while we're in church, so that window should be open, but only when you are there. Now, I want to rewind to a time in my life where a lot was going wrong. I was angry with myself, I was angry with my family, everything that was going on in my life, but a lot of time I was angry at God, screaming to God, God, why are you doing this to me? I have done everything you told me to, I'm nice to people, I am kind, I go to church on Sunday, I give my tithe, I do everything that you want me to, and yet you are making all these things go wrong in my life. You say you're always going to be there, you're always going to be in my heart, but where are you? Well, he tried. He tried to come into the front door. And then he tried the back. And then he tried all other ways to get into my heart. But the only one that I left open was that Sunday one, and I won't be able to see him until I get there on Sunday. We need to not only verbally allow him into our life, saying, God, you are welcome. Our lives have to welcome him in. We need to keep what we listen to pure so that he can be in our ears. We need to keep what we say pure so he can be in our mouths. We need to have our actions to be pure so he can be in our heart. Every part of us, we need to let him enter. What we say, what we think, everything. And why? Because he made you, and that's how he intended it to be. He made you. He made you. A lot of things that we think are going on in our lives, we wonder, where was God? Well, where was God in this? And where's God in this? But we can't, and he'll always be there. But you can't just ask for him and expect for him to be helping you in something in your life if you're going to ignore him all the rest of the time. Because then your heart isn't really open to him. Your ears aren't really open to him. Your eyes aren't really seeing him. Well, is it going to be hard to do that? Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's hard for me. Writing this message, it was really hard to write the message, but not only that, when I was taking my breaks, I was looking on Facebook, watching videos that maybe weren't all that great. But there's certain things in your life that you may struggle with. But God knows that it's going to be hard. And I honestly believe that a lot of the times it's really hard for us teenagers. Or really anybody, but a lot of us for us teenagers, because we're trying to get acceptance from the people around us. And so, all my friends are watching that video. All my friends are wearing these clothes that are putting off bad messages. If I don't go to this place with my friends, then who am I? But God knows it's going to be hard. That's why he sent his son all those years ago to die on the cross, so that we could ask forgiveness for those things that we are messing up on. He knows that it was going to be hard. If I go back to 1 Peter 2, verse 21, for this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you might follow in his steps. He knew it was going to be hard. And it's not, a lot of times we think, well, I don't do this, and I don't do this, and I don't do this. Well, when we have struggles with those, we ask for forgiveness because we know that those are wrong. But the thing is that we're missing, that's completely going by us, are the things that we don't think are wrong. Because everybody else says they're right. How can we set ourselves aside from everybody else if we're doing everything that they're doing besides going to church? I really liked how I came in and saw that it says, be more like Jesus right on the wall. It's great. But I want to see it when you walk into your house, when you walk into your school, when you sit in your car and listen to the radio, even all by yourself. I'm challenged by that. That challenges me. God said to me to do this, and it was hard. It is hard. But you know what? It feels amazing when you are trying and you know that Jesus is always there pushing on. You can do it. You can do it. You can press skip. You can say, sorry, let's talk about something else. Anything. He knows that you can. He died on the cross so you might do those things. He died on the cross that you might make a mistake, but know that it was wrong and ask for forgiveness. He knows. It's a challenge, and I'm willing to take it. Are you willing to take it? For God, the one who died on the cross for us? I've been working on a lot this week, and like I said, it really feels amazing. It does. And there was a lot of times where just because I was thinking about it, I was making those mistakes. And then I would be done, and I would say, God, I did it again. Forgive me. But there he was. He was right there. And on my way home, a lot of people noticed it. My family noticed it. what is different? Why are you all like happy and everything? You've been working, and I was working a lot these past 2 weeks, getting scheduled so much that I was really stressed. But other times when this happened, I was really angry, really tired, really irritable. But this time was different. I was just happy because Jesus was in me. Imagine, not only, you go to events sometimes, like this Sunday service or a service like the Encounter with God, or this great service where you have you're on this Jesus high, where you feel so great, so filled with the Spirit. Imagine feeling that every day, how that would feel. It feels amazing. I get chills just thinking about it. Imagine not only a Sunday feeling, but a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to relive it and revive it again. Yes. If you let Jesus into your doors, He is happy. So if you let Jesus into the door of your mind, then your mind is happy. If you let Jesus into the door of your eyes and your mouth and your ears, then all of those are happy. You let Jesus into the door of your heart is happy, you are happy. And everyone wants that. The people who don't live a religious or Christian life, they want happiness. All you see in the world is what is the great American dream? What does everybody want? Everybody wants happiness. And if they see that you have what they want, they're going to ask, how did you get it? You get to tell them, and now you brought another person to Christ. Not only are you taking up a challenge, but you're bringing somebody into that. All this by restoring our purity, being more like Jesus because He made us. And like I said, when we're having hard times, struggles, temptations, anything we fall into, as soon as we step out, ask for forgiveness, we are restored. One of the biggest struggles of the people of the world is, well, why would God want me now after all this that I've done? But they have to realize sin is sin is sin. God covers all of that. He wipes it all away. Everything. He can wipe it away. No matter what it is. And we're going to struggle. And it's going to be hard. But you know what? We can be accountable for each other. That's one of the greatest things. Find somebody you trust. A friend, anybody. And you could say, I did this today. I felt really bad about it. Will you pray with me and help me get through it so either it'll happen less or it won't happen again? Or I'll just remember to ask for forgiveness next time it does happen? Our biggest problem with fading is that we do something. First time is great, we ask for forgiveness. Second time is great, we ask for forgiveness, but it's a really short. Third time, we're like, this just keeps happening. Fourth time, whatever. And then we fade again. And then we're down on this pit. To be more like Jesus will make us happy. I want to be happy. Do you want to be happy? Yes. My mom, a lot of times, she gives a lot of influence on me. A lot of times it's through saying things, but there was this one thing she did once. She came back from, I don't know if it was reading a book or coming from some sort of sermon or event or something, but I came home and there's all these sticky notes all over the house. I was like, Mom, what is this? It's a little freaky. It says, I am here all over the place. What does that mean? She said, well, I like it to remind me. Sometimes our flesh, and this is me talking, sometimes our flesh makes it hard for us to realize that God's here. So we need little reminders sometimes, and that's why I have that up here. We need little reminders sometimes to let us know that God is there. So not only if we put little things some places, we'll know. I think for her it was just knowing that God was there through the hard times, and it was really good for me. But what I noticed was there was one in the living room on the TV, I believe, in the bathroom and the kitchen. And there was a couple times where I would be talking on the phone to my friend, saying, yeah, this, and I would see it, and I'd be like, oh, I feel like uncomfortable. Well, why do you feel uncomfortable? Well, because you see I am here and you know Christ is always with you. Well, then maybe you should probably end the conversation. Or I would see it on the TV. I'd be going through Netflix, and it's hard when you sit there going through movies and movies and movies. Eventually you're going to be done. You have one empty day, everything on Netflix, you already seen it. So I'm going through and trying to see stuff, and then I see the little sticker. I'm like, oh, but I really want to watch TV. I'm really bored. Yeah, but God's there and He can see what's going on. Why don't you pick something a little better? We need to know that God is all around, not only so we feel His presence, but that we know His presence is there for whatever we are doing in our lives. So that's why I brought these sticky notes today, to help you. Because a lot of times it's hard for us to absorb everything we hear. So taking something home often, I think, is really good. Also, if you don't want to take these, put an alarm on your phone. That's another thing I really like that my mom did. Whether she was praying about somebody or just needed to know that God was there. 5 o'clock every single day, I am here. Sometimes it really helps. I have this song that after I'm done, we're going to play. And I really like the words. It's funny how Satan works against us sometimes. And that happened a lot like I said, when I was falling to temptation. It happened a lot during when I was writing this. And I was trying to find this song because I kept singing to myself, yeah, that song goes like that. It'll be perfect. It'll be perfect for the message. So I typed it out. You can find anything on Google. So I typed it up on Google, and I noticed, I was like, it is nowhere. It's absolutely nowhere to be found. But I know it's a real song. It's impossible. It has to be real because it's perfect for this. I know that it is. And then so I asked my pastor, hey, do you know that song that goes, no, no, no? I'm singing along. And they're like, it sounds familiar, but I'm not really sure. So that happened with 5 people. I'm not really sure. And I asked my brother, finally, the last person I asked, which of course it was the last person because then I would stop looking. But I asked him, and he was like, I was trying to use that for something way back when, and there's this site where this group has all these songs. They don't share anything out in the open because I don't know why it was, but nothing is anywhere else besides the specific website. So I found it with my pushing, because God was with me, whether the devil wanted me to play it or not. I just want to read the words to you before we play the song. It says, take what these eyes have seen and cleanse from my memory. Anything that we see that could taint our purity, cleanse it, and God can do that. So that my mind can be wholly yours, our mind can be His. Take what these hands have made, that toil from day to day, that whatever you're doing, whether it's physically or can't think of the word. But whatever you're doing with your hands, striving to make their way on their own, we can't make it on our own. We can't. And it goes on to say, search me and know my heart. Lord, I want to be more like who you are. If you hear the words that God is saying, whether it's I am here or follow me or anything that God speaks to you, write it on this note. I'm actually going to take one after this, put it on the back of my phone because I realize that's where I struggle the most. Just take it and use it where you know that God might be speaking, telling you to put it. God will speak to you. He will. If you open those doors, those windows, so He's not sneaking into whatever you have left, He will go. He will. So I ask that you just pray. You hear what He says, and once you hear those words, write it on the paper, hold it, pray over it, and keep it throughout the week. I hope that God spoke through me so you can feel Him. I really do.